How the Poor Suffer, Embodying the Violence Continuum, written by Seth Holmes. The author Seth Holmes is a cultural and medical anthropologist and physician who focuses broadly on social hierarchies, health inequalities, and the ways in which asymmetries are naturalized, normalized, and resisted. The publication of the book Fresh Fruit, Broken Bodies, Farm Workers in the United States was released back in 2013. In this book, the author focuses on the Cherokee migrants in the Tanaco farms. The Cherokee migrants are from Oaxaca, Mexico, where they migrated from Mexico to the United States to work on these farms. You may be wondering why the Cherokee people migrated to the United States. Well, on January 1st of 1996, the North American Free Trade Agreement, also known as NAFTA, went into effect with the goal of eliminating barriers to trade and invest between three countries, which was Canada, Mexico, and the United States. Within 10 years, major U.S. corn producers, heavily subsidized by taxpayer dollars, had flooded the Mexican market, putting as many as 2 million farm workers out of jobs. Entire villages were wiped out, and while some moved to the cities, the majority went to the north of the United States looking for work so their families could eat.
This search took me on a journey, a year and a half full-time living and working with migrant farm workers who were native Mexicans, starting in Washington State, picking on a strawberry farm, living in a labor camp, moving to California, pruning vineyards, living in a slum apartment with 19 other people. There were 1 or 2 families in each bedroom, a family in the living room, and then I, as the gay physician and anthropologist, literally had the closet. It was good because I could close the door and analyze and think about what was going on. Then moving to their home village in the mountains of Oaxaca, and then across the border into Arizona and into the Border Patrol jail after we were apprehended.
During this journey, Holmes worked on the Tanaco farms to experience what the migrant workers did. He endured the pain from his knees, stomach, and even headaches. The author uses these pains as symbolism in his article as well. For example, the pain in his knees were examples of the structural violence of the social hierarchies becoming embodied in the form of suffering and sickness. One of Holmes' case studies was albino and the pain of picking. Albino was a 35-year-old father of 4 who suffered from severe knee pain after several years of working as a strawberry picker. He tried to get help from his supervisors, doctors, and even physical therapists, but they ignored Albino's reports and told him to go back to strawberry picking. The State Workers' Compensation Agency also didn't handle Albino's case well either by not providing him a translator, sending documentation to the wrong doctor, and they told him that the farm work that he was doing would heal his injury when in fact that was causing this severe knee injury. From this study, Holmes concluded from this case that doctors committed structural violence by failing to address Albino's individual histories, needs, and knowledge of their own circumstances. So you may be wondering, what is structural violence? Structural violence refers to a form of violence wherein the social structures or social institutions harms people by preventing them from meeting their basic needs. From this case, it also showed how the United States healthcare is designed to produce profits and not wellness as a response to structural violence. Another topic that Holmes really focused on was the suffering of the hierarchy. In their work with the Cherokee people, their supervisors didn't really care about them. They had terrible working conditions where they lived in the coldest and wettest shacks in the most hidden labor camps. They had no insulation, no heat, and no wooden ceilings under their tin roofs, which would cause them to sleep in a very cold temperature. They would work 7 days a week without any breaks at all, and they were also exposed to pesticides and different weather conditions, which probably caused them to get a lot of sicknesses as well. Crescentio and the anguish of insult. Crescentio would get headaches when insulted. These were PTSDs of the mistreatment that he got when working on the Tanaco farms. He tried to get help from numerous amounts of doctors, yet nothing worked. The only thing that really helped cope through this was drinking 20 to 24 beers, so becoming drunk to get rid of those headaches. His headaches were a symbol of a complicated cycle of linkages between suffering and the social and symbolic forces structuring his life. Crescentio is a victim to the social forces obligating him to live and work in damaging conditions at the bottom of the labor hierarchy. Another one of the cases that Holmes discussed was Bernardo and the damage of torture. Bernardo was one of the first Cherokee people to come to Washington, but once he got his U.S. residency, he stopped working for the farm and moved back to Osaka. His family later built a home and even built a store in their home. When Holmes went to go visit Bernardo asked Holmes if he had any stomach medicine, as his stomach was sore for the past 8 years. He explained to Holmes that he was kidnapped and tortured by the Mexican Deferral Police, and when he was denied medical help, he drank his own urine as a remedy to help heal his abdomen. He had done nothing wrong, but was held captive for 8 months, and then he was released from the Mexican Deferral Police. The logic behind this violence affirms that the poorest of the poor must not assert themselves to be allowed political economic power. To go into more detail, the political alliances of the Mexican military, with its ties to the United States federal financing, have translated into repression of the movement seeking redistribution of power and resources in a more equitable fashion.
My wish is that we as voters will speak up against unequal policies that make some people have to leave their homes and cross dangerous deserts in order for their families to survive. That we as leaders would choose to buy food from farms that treat their workers well, including farms that have United Farm Workers contracts or the Equitable Food Initiative label. And that we as friends and neighbors would challenge unequal narratives of choice, skill, naturalization, or other unequal narratives that we hear when people are trying to make sense of who's sick and why.